6 months after I bought my first house, I was over budget, completely stressed out, and seriously questioning if I made the biggest mistake of my life. And I'm not alone. Over the years, I work with dozens of different buyers, and I've heard the same stories again and again. Why didn't anyone tell me this? So today, I'm breaking down the 10 things I wish I knew before buying a house. Some of these are lessons I learned firsthand, and others come from friends, clients, and near disasters that I helped prevent. And one of them, number 10, literally saved a client over $10,000. No gimmicks, no clickbait. I'll tell you exactly how we did it and how you can do it too. So let's dive right in. Your pre-approval is not your budget. Here's a mistake I see all the time. Someone gets pre-approved for, let's say, $650,000 and assumes that's their shopping budget. But that number doesn't mean that you should spend that much. It means the bank is willing to lend you that much based on a formula. What it doesn't take into account is your life, your daycare bill, your gym membership, your travel habit, your desire to retire before 70. I had a client who was pre-approved for $700,000 and was ready to go all in. But we ran the numbers together, factoring in her actual monthly spending, including savings goal and fund money, and she realized that buying at the top of her range would leave her financially tight. Instead, she decided to shop in the $550,000 to $600,000 range. She got a great house and a more flexible budget every month. That extra room in her budget meant that she could keep traveling, building savings, and not worry every time her car made a weird sound. You don't want to be house poor. It's not whether you can afford the mortgage on paper. It's about whether it fits into the life you actually want to live. Number 2. You're not just paying the mortgage. When people talk about buying a house, the focus is usually on the mortgage. My payment is $2,400. So I'm good. But what a lot of people forget or just don't realize is that the mortgage is only one slice of the pie. You've got property taxes, homeowners insurance, maybe private mortgage insurance, and then your utilities, which are almost always higher than most people realize. Water, gas, electric, trash, internet, it all adds up. And then comes the fun part. Maintenance. A friend of mine bought her first home and thought, great, I'm all set. Within 30 days, she had to fix a leaky faucet, she had to patch a fence, replace weather stripping on 2 windows, and hire pest control for an ant problem. Not major expenses individually, but together, easily $700 in 1 month. And this wasn't a fixer-upper. This was a normal move-in ready home. Most financial experts recommend budgeting 1% of the purchase price for future maintenance. So on a $500,000 house, that's $5,000 a year. Over $400 a month just to keep things running. And that does not include upgrades. Because once you move in, I promise you, you will want to upgrade something. Whether it's a smart home tech, a new light fixture, finally painting that builder beige walls. So before you stretch to the top of your mortgage budget, remember, the true cost of homeownership includes everything after you move in. Number 3, the neighborhood matters more than the house. Let me tell you about a friend of mine who bought her dream home. And it turned into a nightmare. This was before I got into real estate. And honestly, her story stuck with me. She found this house that was stunning. Open concept, quartz counters, vaulted ceiling. The kind of place that made you want to move in yesterday. She and her partner were so focused on the house that they didn't really research the neighborhood. It was their first place. They were excited. They were emotional. And I get it. But once they moved in, reality hit really fast. The commute, which looked feasible on Google Maps, was brutal in real time. Turns out traffic in that area was always backed up, and there was no decent grocery store within 15 minutes. And then came the big surprise. Every weekend, there was noise from a nearby outdoor event space that they hadn't noticed during the showings. It was super loud. Every Friday and Saturday nights, music, parking, people yelling. They couldn't even enjoy their beautiful backyard. They loved the house, but they hated living there. And they were stuck because to sell it too soon after they bought it they would have taken a huge financial hit. So here's what I recommend. Go to the neighborhood early in the morning and again at night, on weekdays and on weekends. Talk to the neighbors. They're usually always at the open house. Don't be afraid to talk to them. Also, look up crime statistics. Think about your routines, grocery store, dog walks, commutes, because the house might be perfect, but if the neighborhood isn't, it's not gonna feel like home for long. Number 4, inspections don't catch everything. Let's clear something up. Inspections are essential, but they're not magical. They are limited by what the inspector can see and what they can access. I had a client buy a charming mid-century home. The inspection report came back pretty clean. Just a couple of loose outlets and a missing downspout. Everybody breathed a huge sigh of relief. 2 months after closing, she noticed the baseboards in her living room were swelling. It turned out there was a very slow, small, ongoing leak inside the wall. Molds had started to form. The repairs, just over $4,000. The inspector didn't catch it. And honestly, he couldn't have. He wasn't allowed to open the drywall and dig into the plumbing. Here's what most buyers don't realize. Inspectors aren't there to guarantee the house is perfect. They're there to give you a snapshot, not necessarily an x-ray. Another example, a friend of mine bought a home where the HVAC worked just enough to pass the inspection. But a few weeks later, right in the middle of summer, and she lived in one of those hot states, it completely failed. Turns out it hadn't been serviced in years. If you're buying an older home or one that was flipped recently, ask questions. If anything seems off, there's some unusual smells, sloped floors, or bubbling paint, bring in a specialist before closing. One more thing. Don't assume that newly renovated homes means that everything's been done properly. I've seen flipped homes with fresh paint where everything looks beautiful, but they're hiding old plumbing and DIY electrical. Number 5, the emotional high will make you stupid. I've seen it and I've lived it. When buyers fall in love with a house, logic goes out the window. Suddenly that weird layout is unique, and that busy road out front is not so bad. And that water stain on the ceiling, probably just old, and I have to stop doing this. I had a client once who walked into a house and said, "This is it. I don't care what it takes." She was ready to waive the inspection, the appraisal, and write a letter to the seller begging for the house. I reminded her, this is not an emotional decision. It's a legal and financial commitment. If there's something wrong with the house, it won't magically fix itself. You'll be the one stuck paying for it. Sure enough, the inspection uncovered some pretty major structural issues, and we ended up walking away. And the very next house that she toured, better condition, lower price, and she got it. It's so easy to let emotions drive the decision. But this is a 6-figure purchase, maybe, possibly the biggest financial decision of your life. You need someone in your corner to ask the hard questions and pull you out of the fantasy when necessary. So if you ever catch yourself saying, "I'll do whatever it takes to get the house," pause, reevaluate, and bring someone rational to your next showing. Number 6, renovations always cost more and take longer. We've all watched those makeover shows where they take a rundown kitchen and they quickly turn into something that's fit for a design magazine in 3 days flat for $10,000. Yeah. Real life, it doesn't work like that. One of my clients bought a fixer-upper thinking that they were going to do just some light renovations, mostly just cosmetic. New cabinets, new countertops, new flooring. They budgeted about $30,000 and a 4-week timeline. But the moment the demo started, so did the surprises. There was outdated electrical behind the walls, water damage under the old cabinets, and the plumbing had to be rerouted to meet the new code. Then came the permit delays. And one of their custom cabinets, it was back ordered for 6 weeks. That $30,000 kitchen ended up costing them $54,000, and it took more than 3 months. And honestly, that's not that unusual. The rule I give all buyers now is this: whatever you think the renovation's gonna cost, add 30 to 50% and double the time. And that is your realistic estimate. And please, always get multiple quotes. Not all contractors are created equal. Look at reviews, ask for references, and never pay 100% upfront. Number 7, renting isn't throwing money away. Let's talk about the line we've all heard at some point. Renting is just throwing your money away. But here's what that completely ignores. Renting gives you flexibility, time, and control. One of my clients was under a ton of pressure from family and friends to go buy a house. Everyone was saying, stop paying rent, start building equity. But she wasn't ready. Her credit wasn't where she wanted it to be, and she didn't feel confident about where she wanted to live long term. So instead of rushing, she stayed in her rental. She used that time to save for a larger down payment, boost her credit score, and keep researching different neighborhoods. A year later, she bought a home she loved, and she got a better mortgage rate. Her monthly payment was $300 less than if she bought it a year before. That's not throwing money away. That's called smart financial strategy. Now, don't get me wrong, homeownership is an amazing wealth building tool, but only when you're ready. So the next time somebody says to you, why are you still renting? You can say to them, because I'm preparing to buy the right home, not just any home. This may be a good time to remind you that if you are thinking about moving to the DC area, to Montgomery County, Maryland, Washington, DC, or Northern Virginia, and you would like our help, just send me an email. We'll set up a Zoom. We'll get you started. Or if you would like us to help you finding a vetted, amazing, experienced real estate agent anywhere in the country, just fill out that short form in the pinned comments and I'll get in touch with you immediately. Number 8, don't skip the fine print. If there is one part of the home buying process that most people glaze over, it's the paperwork. I get it. It's long, it's full of legal language, and it's tempting to just trust your agent or your attorney to read it for you. But buried in those 30 to 50-page documents could be things that completely change how you're allowed to use your property. For example, I had a client who wanted to build a backyard pool. The house had space, the budget allowed for it, everything looked good. Until we found a buried utility easement running straight through the yard. No permanent structures allowed. Pool plans canceled. Another time, the HOA documents stated that the resident couldn't rent out their property until they lived in it for 24 months. My client had planned to house hack, live in one room and rent out the others. That plan? Gone. So here's the deal. Don't just skim the fine print. Read every line of the seller's disclosures, the HOA bylaws, if there's an HOA, the title report, and anything from the city concerning zoning and land use. And if something doesn't make sense, ask. Don't assume. Because what you don't read could cost you flexibility, time, and thousands of dollars. Number 9, you need a rainy day fund after you close. Let's talk about what happens after you get the keys, because this is where so many home buyers are completely blindsided. They spend everything, their down payment, closing costs, moving expenses, and then they move into their new home with nothing left in the bank, completely tapped out. And guess what? This is when the water heater fails, or all of a sudden the roof is leaking, or you realize the previous owner didn't get the HVAC serviced for a decade. One of my friends had this exact experience. Remember her? 2 weeks after closing, the HVAC system gave out. Full replacement was $6,000. She didn't have it, so it all went on a credit card. That turned her dream home into a financial stressor overnight. You don't want to buy a house and then feel like one broken appliance could ruin your finances. So here's my advice. Before you close, build a cushion of at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses, not just emergency savings. This is your home ownership buffer. It's not just about peace of mind. It's about staying in control when something unexpected happens, which inevitably it will. Because let's be honest, things will break, stuff will wear out, life happens. And the last thing you want to do is go from celebrating to scrambling. Number 10, a great agent can save you thousands. Here's the payoff I promise. One of my clients fell in love with a home listed for $875,000. She was emotionally invested, ready to offer full asking price, and even was prepared to escalate higher than the asking price if she was in competition. But I stepped in and said, hold on, let me run the comps first. Comps meaning, let me look at all the comparable houses that have sold in the last 6 months. When I dug into the recent sales, I found that similar homes in the area were closing closer to $835,000 up to $850,000. And this one, and this is a key point, had already been sitting on the market for 26 days. In a hot market, that is a serious red flag. We put together a data-packed offer of $850,000. The seller countered. We negotiated hard, using the comps as leverage, and ended up getting the home for her for $860,000 plus $5,000 credit towards her closing costs. That is a $15,000 win just from reading the market, playing it smart, and having someone at the table who wasn't emotionally attached. It's not just about getting the deal. It's about protecting you from overpaying, catching red flags, understanding contracts, knowing how to respond when something unexpected pops up. So when people ask, do I really need an agent? I say, only if you like saving money, avoiding stress, and making informed decisions. Work with someone who's in your corner from day one. Not just someone with a license. There are a lot of bad real estate agents out there, but someone that knows how to guide, protect, and advocate. It can literally save you thousands. So those are the 10 things I wish I knew before buying a house. I hope you guys got some value from this video. If you want to know what the biggest home upgrades people regret after they move in, check out this video next. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!